What is up, everybody? This is Amlin from Badlands Backlogs, and we are back for Bleep Bloop Episode 2. We had our first episode last week. I thought it went pretty okay for like a test run, and we were slowly. I'm making plans for the next few. I think next week we're going to have our first sort of guest and do kind of a year in review for Xbox and the industry and just games that came out and stuff we want to talk about for the year with a guest. And then I'm currently in the early stages of getting another guest from another podcast to come on and talk about sort of in inclusivity. Sorry, in the industry and games in general, and how that's changed over the years, and what we would like to see more of. But anyways, it is October 26th. We are a few days from Halloween, a few days away from November. Alan Wake 2 is out tomorrow and getting great reviews. Uh, can't wait to jump into that. It has been. I've never touched the original. As crazy as that is, being the first one out on like 360 arcade back in the day and being such a pillar of that sort of program back then. Never touched it, but we will hopefully get in a second. I have the remake on PS5. I would like to jump in eventually, but we'll get there when we get there. As I said, October 26th, we are on our way to 12 inches of snow where I'm at, so hopefully you all are staying warm. And let's jump into the news. I honestly didn't think coming into this week there would be a lot. As I said, getting into the end of the year, things sort of slow down. December's almost barren, not a lot going on except for like the Game Awards announcements. And people are really just slowing on announcements and wanting to get stuff saved for the next year. And thankfully, we didn't record yesterday because Xbox decided to change everything in a way. Just broke this morning from The Verge. Tom Warren, follow him on Twitter, great guy. Uh, we've had previous comments the past couple days from Satya at Microsoft about how they really want to double down on their gaming output and just the whole industry as a whole for them and really make that more of a focal point for Microsoft. And they've done some restructuring to sort of help that. Uh, Sarah Bond is now officially promoted to president of Xbox, essentially. We have a graph here if you're watching live or on YouTube. She's just straight up president of Xbox, which is something I've been saying for the past year plus would eventually happen. She's very much been being not molded but pushed forward as a face to remember and someone that they want to be at the forefront of the events they're doing to sort of take that role and become the next Phil Spencer essentially when he's gone, which I'm fine with. I like her as a person. Uh, she's very I. It's dumb when I say this, but she's very suity still, with the way she talks, the way she prevents herself, especially at the showcase this year with her few things that she was on stage for. She very much sounds like someone reading from a teleprompter and like trying to nail specific things to say. Whereas people like Phil or even Aaron Greenberg, when you see interviews from them, it's very casual and relaxed. They're just an average person and don't really push forward that business aspect of things, even though they're in charge of a multi-billion-dollar corporation. They're not as robotic and have a personality to them that I'd like Sarah to see Sarah acquire over time. So congratulations to her. That's a huge step up. I mean, that's overall looking at this chart again. There's now multiple people pointed out. Once our boy down here, Bobby Kotick, is gone, first of the year, can't come soon enough. There will be more women in chief roles and presidential roles within Xbox as a brand than men, which in the gaming industry is almost unheard of. There's still so much toxic, toxic, non-toxic, but just masculinity being pushed forward in those roles. So seeing that's great. Multiple people, Paris Lily pointed out on Twitter earlier, Sarah Bond, first black woman to be in a lead role, especially at something of this level, which is great to see. Uh, Along with her being promoted, our boy Matt Booty also has a new role and is now president of game content and studios. So along the same lines of Sarah Bond, where she's president of Xbox as a whole. So the next console that comes out, iterations, software, hardware, controllers, all everything Xbox will be in her wheelhouse. Where Matt Booty's sort of like the games guy now. So all the IPs they're working with, all the content output they're doing, he is now also sort of in charge, well not in charge, but leading uh, ZeniMax and Bethesda and getting them more integrated with the Xbox teams. As Tom has here, let me find it. ZeniMax will continue to operate as a limited integration entity led by Jamie Leader, president and CEO, reporting to Matt. So he's going to be the in between guy, which is great. We've always heard there's been numerous examples of Xbox teams working together and sort of sharing what they've learned and how they do things. Which my favorite example still is uh, Playground coming to Rare when they were doing Forza Horizon 4 and wanting Rare to help them with like their water stuff that they've learned off of Sea of Thieves and make that more realistic. So they're sharing tech and how they design within studios internally, and having Matt as sort of that in between guy will further connect those. Once Bobby's gone down here, Chief Executive Officer Activision Blizzard, I could only assume this gets separated into two. Um, Activision Blizzard becoming their own separate entities again, not just one banner. Easily see Mike Ibarra taking over Blizzard, which I would love. He was great when he was in the Xbox ecosystem before, and it was sucked to see him leave. But now that he's back, or even someone like Rod Ferguson, I don't think he's much of that leadership role anymore, or would want that position per se. But Mike could easily be executive officer of Blizzard. Activision, I'm not too familiar with their leadership. There's not really. There's been so many guys over there that have left to do their own things, like the head Call of Duty people that have just gone and have their own studios now. I don't know who's sort of that face of the company over there, but I can only assume this role gets taken out and replaced by two separate ones, just so there's not as much on one person. Uh, with the Activision Blizzard acquisition alone, that essentially doubled like Xbox's staff. So having that many new people come under your banner, you need to separate that out and just overall help. This also comes. We talked last week with Phil wanting to go and do sort of an around the world thing with the new studios and visit them. We've seen stuff from that come out now. His time at King, I think he was there 1 or 2 days at most, and then the past, I believe it was Monday this week, visited the Blizzard campus, Activision Blizzard campus, and the World of Warcraft team, Overwatch teams, all those sort of things. But when he was there was pictures that came out, and what led me to before saying that Activision Blizzard will be split, there was no Activision branding at all. They had kind of like the photo backdrops you see with which you would see at a press event with everyone who's like marketing or promoting stuff, and it was just Xbox and Blizzard. There was no Activision involved. But he visited the team there. They reiterated they want to listen to people's ideas and let those teams open up to do new things, which we talked about last week is great. I would love to see those studios branch out of the Call of Duty formula and go back to what they love doing. And that's sort of it. There's not a whole lot. There's other things here that I can't really speak on. Uh, Chief Marketing Officer for Microsoft, Capocella, who's been there for 32 years, is also stepping down, which was kind of the iceberg of all these changes. They had to remove everyone around to replace him. I'm not super familiar. I don't think he was super direct with Xbox's success. I'm sure he was there as one of Bill Gates' right hand guys. But as far as launching the service and all that, I don't believe he was super involved. So that was today, which is good because that's a huge thing, huge change. Congratulations again to Sarah and Matt, and I hope that they continue just the upwards trajectory that Xbox has had, especially Sarah with the court case earlier this year. If you go back and look at that, there's every news outlet that was there constantly praised her on the stand of how great she was, how they wish she could have just walked the judge through everything step by step because of how she was able to connect and convey what they were trying to do and the details they needed. She just really had a clear head, which it's not her first time. If you're familiar with her past, I believe she was at T-Mobile when they were going through all their lawsuits years back and kind of leading that charge. So it's kind of her forte. Uh, oh, it's great. Also, this week we had, to many surprise, Xbox Partner Preview, a new showcase style that I super loved. I wish they would do more of these. That they were super direct. It's not going to be first party showcase. It's not going to be, hey, here's a bunch of Activision stuff now. It was just third party partners that they had marketing for. Quick half hour showcase, no talking heads, no deep dives. It was just very short to the point. We can kind of go over that here. Showcased what really first thing on the Xbox Wire post here. Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater got its first in-engine look, which may come as a surprise, especially because that debuted at the PlayStation Showcase earlier this year. And to get the first actual in-engine view of the game at an Xbox show now, it's weird that that kind of flip flops. You would imagine that Sony would have locked down everything for that game, marketing, preview events, just every part of that. But the fact that it was here was kind of weird. Looks good. Will it be the thing that finally makes me jump into a Metal Gear Solid game? Probably not. As crazy as that is, people. Uh, I remember playing the first one on PS1 when I was a kid. Never got into it, and I tried giving Phantom Pain another shot for a few hours. Could not get into it still. But it's cool. I'm happy people are getting that. Alan Wake 2 got its official launch trailer and gameplay trailer. Probably the most action centered gameplay trailer we've gotten so far. Looks good. As I said, it's out tomorrow. Reviews are at 9s and 10s across the board. Congratulations to that team. It's really pulled that indie darling, so to say, they were back in the day on 360 and made it this huge success that's, I hope, just further shows that team's talent. Ark Survival Ascended got a new trailer, which I think is out today. Early access. I'm not super familiar with Ark. Never been my thing. That Rust, just all these sort of building live service games as a service things I've never been involved with. I couldn't go into detail about. It looked cool. No Vin Diesel still. Uh, excuse me. I believe Arc 2 has been essentially canceled, and this is a sort of reboot, remaster, remake of the first not actually fully launched preview program of the first game. It's dinosaurs. It's cool. The kids are gonna love it. I can't say anymore. Uh, the thing I'm most excited for, I'm laughing if you're watching. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth was announced beforehand that it would be here, and this is by far my most anticipated game for next year, which sucks because it comes out in January, end of January. Like a Dragon was my first Yakuza game, and I loved it. Game of the Year 2021. I've spent 100 plus hours on. Uh, Spent a ton of time just living in the world. It's over the top. It's quirky. It's silly. It does not take itself seriously, while being one of the most emotionally invested stories you could have in this zany, just it's a roller coaster ride. So the follow up, the eighth one, now out January 26th, they did an upcoming trailer for Dondoko Island, which is a separate mode within the game, kind of like a side mission thing. There's have a whole array of mini games and old Sega arcade games and stuff. but this is essentially Animal Crossing in the Yakuza franchise. So the way they had it presented, you have Vacation Island, as you would do in Animal Crossing New Horizons. You can collect resources, you can build houses, you can build furniture, you have whole build streets, sidewalks, just the whole kit and caboodles there. People come to your island over time, getting relationship increases, forming friendships, giving gifts. Just super zany, something that I never would have imagined in a million years the next Yakuza game would have, but at the same time being the most like on the nose, this makes sense thing they could have done. Also, there's green and little red guy. Don't know what they are. They're kind of the mascots of the island. If you're listening to the audio version, please go look up the Dondoko Island reveal trailer because these guys are goobers and I love them and I want them in my party the whole time I play in this game. Still Wakes the Deep got a new, I think, burst gameplay showcase. I think there was a little bit cut into the trailer back at the June showcase, E3 showcase, not E3 showcase. Uh, Looks cool, super claustrophobic, horror, spooky, amnesia style horror game. Chinese Room looks, it's a great studio. Uh, Dear Esther and Everybody's Gone to the Rapture on PlayStation. If you've played that, same people. They're super good at this sort of eerie, atmospheric, not quite sure what's going on, lead the player along type things. Looks good. Beautiful game. I have no interest in playing it. Don't like the spooky stuff. PC Game Pass got a special reveal with Manor Lords, which I've never heard of before, but it is city builder, village medieval city builder. Uh, I wouldn't necessarily say along the lines of Civilization, more of like City Skylines probably. That you're still building troops, forming troops, training them. You can do your own sort of formations and stuff in battle to defend your villages and build castles and moats and just the PC stuff everyone likes. I don't know. I'm not a city builder guy. It looks cool though. PC Game Pass. They did say, I believe, at the end of the trailer, they would be pushing for console release later in 2024 with preview for PC Game Pass early 2024. Or here it says April 26th to be exact. Future Lab and Thunderful showed off a new title, new announcement. Icarus Will Not Die, which is a spiritual successor to Velocity, if you've played that before. They describe it as a momentum based roguelite action adventure with a super, at this point, unique art style, but it really gave me Hi Fi Rush vibes. That sort of cell shaded, kind of comic book esque thing going on. Super neon, cyberpunky. Uh, I think if you're a fan of like Ghost Runner 2 just came out, this is probably up your alley. It's giving the same vibes gameplay wise. Spirit of the North got a new trailer. I'm not sure of this story based game. I believe the first one was out 2 or 3 years ago. RoboCop Rogue City, which some of you might have heard from the recent Steam Next Fest, got a lot of hype, is coming to Xbox on November 2nd, which I is boggling to me. Out of all the old like 70s, 80s, 90s action stuff to get like the Halloween treatment or Attack from Zombies Clowns from Outer Space treatment that these sort of old cult classics are getting, RoboCop would not be the first thing on my list. I've never heard of someone being a RoboCop fan or a RoboCop diehard. Dungeons of Hinterberg was announced beforehand as well that it was going to be making a showcase, which I've never heard of before. It looks super unique if you're a fan of sort of the village, Animal Crossing again, Disney Dreamlight Valley, Harvest Moon sort of things. This looks like that with more combat. Uh, Again, super. It looks like a comic book art, watercolor painting come to life. Characters sort of they showed your main character walking down the street, and as characters were walking closer to you, they would sort of fade out of the picture. Just a super unique style. Uh, Not familiar with the studio at all. I'm super interested to see where this goes, and if it is next year, I believe they did give it a 2024 release window. Uh, I don't believe. Oh, here Game Pass 2024. Yeah, so we'll be in Game Pass to try out. Super unique. Like I said, if you like those social aspect farming city builder stuff, this is probably up your alley. Third person, and then the finals made a new showcase or a reveal at the showcase. Closed beta kicks off today on October 26th. If you're listening, which I believe is the third or fourth one they've done. I've looked into this a bit since just because it really caught my eye. And I guess this has been floating around for like a year or two now, doing closed betas and now testing stuff. It seems like a multi-team, three-person to a team, not necessarily an extraction shooter, but an objective based. You're either capturing points or breaking into vaults or killing other people for currency that you're trying to bring back to your base to extract it. And that's sort of how you're progressing through the matches. Looked cool. It's set up kind of a futuristic Hunger Games style where they're in a generated stadium, like the crowd around is all computerized and not actually there, and holograms, and it looks super cool. I'm definitely interested to see where it comes of it. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get into the beta this time around, but definitely be keeping my eye on it in 2024. It looks like something that can get, if it gets a player base that can stay and they can keep up with content and stuff, that it's gonna have a great time. That was sort of it for the showcase. It was great. Like I said, it was a half hour quick. No talking. We're not gonna do developer interviews. If you go back and watch it, though, they did do uh, at the end of each sort of trailer, they would have a QR code and a link to come to this Xbox Wire thing to get further deep dives in, which I really liked them doing because it gave people the option to. This looked cool. Hey, I want to see more of that Alan Wake trailer type thing. You can go to that without interrupting the stream and have that sort of on the back end for when it ended, while not forcing people who aren't interested to sit through the deeper talks and conversations and behind the scenes sort of stuff. So it was really good. Again, congratulations to Tina Amini. This was another one of her joints that she did. Super cool. I wouldn't mind one or two of these a year just to further help out the third parties or smaller studios, indie studios to get their name out. And that's sort of it. There was something I would like to pull up here. Sea of Thieves Season 10 launched this week, or last week now. I was out of town, sorry. And they have a new program called Pirate Perks, if I believe right. I'm going to pull it up here so I can get the right things. But it's essentially a real life reward program for in game uh, progression, which I really like the idea of, and I would love to see other teams sort of tackle this in their own way. So you sign up and connect your Xbox account with their Rare Store page so they can get all your information, what you've done in the game. Each season, it looks like they're doing, if you reach max level 100, they're doing a special collector's coin for that season. So what you would get in like a Nintendo's collector's edition, those sort of pseudo gold coins that you get, which I really like the look of. They're cool. And then they have things with if you reach rank 50 with certain combination factions in the game, you can get a T-shirt for that faction or something. So they have the Merchant Alliance one here with pigs, gold, gunpowder barrels, chests, wine bottles, that sort of thing. One for the Order of Souls reaching rank 50. One for the Hunter's Call reaching rank 50. Which I don't believe they say. I don't know if these are time limited, if they're going to rotate these out with each season like the coin is, or if the challenges they're doing are going to sort of rotate out as they come. They have an exclusive T-shirt if you're a Pirate Legend you can buy. I don't believe you get like a discount just the regular cost of a T-shirt on the Rare store, but unable to have the ability to purchase it, you need the progression in game. Reach rank 10 with Athena's Fortune, another T-shirt. Just really neat. It's something new to sort of help the live service trend that's happening. There's so many games you can't even turn a game on now without a season pass being involved or seasonal rewards or hey, this is a time limited thing for 2 months. Come play. We want you here. Spend your time here, and not sort of feel like you're pulled in and forced to participate to keep up with what's in the game. This is sort of another way to keep you invested without making you feel like your time's wasted, getting a physical, tangible reward for what you've done. Albeit the thing besides the coin reaching level 100, none of these things are super hard, and most people that are playing the game, besides new players, should already have all of these. Rank 50 with all the factions, Pirate Legend, like 95% of your player base has this. So it's not a sort of elitist, I'm cut off sort of thing. But it's cool. I would love to see the evolution of this. Like I said, I would love to see other games tackle this. Something like Destiny with that hardcore player base, I think could do something cool with this idea. And just sort of make it their own. If you're watching on video, here's a close up of this season's coin for season 10. So kudos to them. It's something new and something to keep with what some would say is a lackluster season. Keeping them coming back to get this stuff. Nothing I would super be interested in besides the Hunter's Call one, maybe. But good on them. Uh, and that's about it. Like I said, it was going to be kind of a scary week news wise because there wasn't a whole lot happening this week until we got the showcase announcement, until the stuff from The Verge comes up this way. The stuff from The Verge happened this morning, actually. There was a Forza Motorsport update. If you've been having issues with that, I know there was some stuff for like multiplayer that got touched up. Uh, Issues if you see like cars floating or replays being weird. I believe that's been all fixed. Uh, Dead Space, when we talked about Game Pass announcements last week. Minico's Night Market is now out on Game Pass. I have it downloading currently. I don't know when I'm going to be able to have a chance to play. I work the next 6 days, and as I said, we are expecting 12 inches of snow, so I'm going to be shoveling 90% of my life. But that's finally out, and Dead Space Remake is also out today on the 26th. Perfect time for Halloween if you're looking for something spooky to play. Another thing like Alan Wake that I've never touched. I've never touched the original back on 360, Dead Space 2, Dead Space 3, so this will be my first sort of go around with it. And that's where we're at. Like I said, we are next week, hopefully, have our first guest and do a rundown of games that came out this year, stuff that we really enjoyed, just Xbox's year as a whole, talking about sort of pivotal points, the lawsuits and Activision closing, that sort of stuff again. And then hopefully either the week after that, we're going to be doing uh, Game Awards prediction episode. Maybe get a guest on for that if I can. Sort of run through the categories, what we think would win, what we would like to see that was excluded this year with the amount of releases we've had that were just banger after banger tens, and there's been way more than 6 Game of the Year contenders this year, so there's gonna be a lot of stuff cut out. That'll be sort of fun. And then, as I said, I'm in the process this morning to get the other guest on and doing a sort of deep dive into inclusivity and representation in gaming, which I feel is going to be a really good discussion to have because it's something that not a lot of people want to talk about, and especially in the gaming industry where the media is mostly left leaning, not fully Democrat, but those ideals. But the gaming industry itself is ran by a bunch of money hungry, like Republicans who don't really care and just want to do what they can to get the most money they can, and that sort of head to head that they have, I feel could be a really cool discussion. I'm coming up with these things to try and separate this from just like I want to do the news. I like talking about what's going on when there's stuff to talk about, but also opening up more discussions that people don't necessarily like to have and other viewpoints on stuff that I may take for granted. Which that's where the inclusivity thing I thought of this morning because I started playing Spider-Man 2. My girlfriend got it for me for my birthday since that came out last Friday. And I missed Miles Morales. I have yet to jump into that. But with, I believe her name is Hannah. She is a fully deaf character. She does not talk. She just does sign. And that's everyone in game signs with her. And you get subtitles on the bottom. And I thought that was a really unique thing that, off the top of my head, I couldn't point out another example of. And having that just, for me, being like, oh, that's a neat thing to have compared to someone who, hey, that represents me. That's who I am as a gamer. That is how I've experienced these sort of projects for years. There's a branching web, I feel we could, pun intended, Spider-Man 2, that we could talk about and what that means for the industry. And people like Able Gamers and Steve Saylor and all these people pushing for more, not, they're pushing for more accessibility for people with disabilities for gaming, but going beyond that and LGBTQ representation and black representation and Hispanic representation, just all these things that are still lacking for the most part that we could really dive into and talk about. So I've been trying to get that in place. For the rest of the week here, time depending, probably be streaming League of Legends. We finally made it out of Iron Rank. Round of applause for me. Insert Grant birthday party here. We are in Bronze 3. Slow and steady. We switched to Misfortune, and it's been going good. We love it. And hopefully more Halo Infinite. I did a couple games last night. There is another streamer I'd like to kind of get together with, hopefully, and do co-streams with on Halo Infinite, because he's big into that, like super big, Battle Pass, all the sort of things that I would like to play with, and sort of branch out from there. But that's sort of where we're at right now. Thanks for stopping in. We're about the same time as last week, which I feel is good. Like I said, for a one-man show, no one wants to sit here and listen to me for hours on end. But you can follow up with me at twitch.tv/thebacklogsgames, badlandsbacklogs.squarespace.com, and the Badlands Backlogs on YouTube, which mostly is, until I find out video editing, is mostly going to be just a VOD channel and another way to watch the podcast visually instead of an audio version, which I'm okay with. We'll get there. Small steps. But that is it for now. Thanks for stopping by. This has been episode 2 of Bleep Bloop. And this is Amulet signing off.